All right, welcome to another episode of the Black Excellence Club podcast. My name is Sakudini. I am the host, and I am on a journey from unknown to unforgettable. And today I have with me, oh yay.
Hey, how you guys doing? Thank you, Sakudini, for having me.
No problem. We could just start off with you introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about what you do.
Cool beans. So my name's Oyetola, but Oye for short. I am the CEO of Cubs Group Media, which is, now that you're actually here in Manchester, it's a web and digital marketing agency based here in England, in Manchester. And we're lucky to have Sakudini coming all the way from America to do this
From
interview.
Bermuda. Not America.
Oh, you came from Bermuda?
Bermuda,
Why did I
yeah.
think you came from America? Okay, my
So
bad.
it's all good. It's all good.
All the way from Bermuda.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Have you heard of Bermuda before?
I have heard of Bermuda, yeah.
Have you been there? No?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet,
Okay.
but it is on the list.
All right. As long as it's on the list. Well,
It is
okay.
on the list. It is on the list.
All right. So did you start this company?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So what was the process like from the idea phase to actually getting it and to actually creating the company?
So basically, I was supposed to be a lawyer. That was my thing because I studied law at university, did the whole thing, went to law school, so did the whole shebang. But back during my era, it was kind of in the heart of the recession. So all the law jobs were pretty much gone, right? So you could literally apply for a training contract today, and then that law firm was either taken over by an American firm or had internal restructuring, which basically meant they were folding, or they literally just went under and didn't get back to you. So it was kind of like, okay, this is the situation as it is now. What can I do? So essentially, I'm a recession baby. So I was doing a lot of stuff online when I was in A-levels, particularly with eBay. I learned how to create a landing page and then a website because with eBay, they were taking so many fees. I was like, I wonder if I actually put this stuff on my page, it could sell. And then through that process, I learned how to create a landing page, then learn how to create a website, then learn how just because you have a landing page doesn't mean you're going to get traffic to it. So you have to actually learn. Back then, search engine optimization was a lot easier. So learn how to do that to actually get traffic to the website.
Okay.
And then started making sales. But like I said, my trajectory was to become a lawyer. So that's why I thought, okay, go to uni, study law, do my master's, and then do law school and all of that, and then become a lawyer, right? So when that didn't occur, I then went back to those skills I already had and said, let me try making a business out of this. And thankfully it worked. So here I am.
All right. So how is it that you service other businesses?
So like I said, we create high performance websites for high performance businesses. So we do that, and we also create high performance lead generation campaigns for those high performance businesses. So we not only make you look good online and make sure that you're presentable at a high level, we also make sure you have the customers coming in that allows you to actually be profitable. So we do the whole thing from beginning to end.
Okay. So what does a new customer look like for you?
What does a new customer look like for me? A new customer would be, or an ideal customer would be a customer who is in business, probably has been in business. Actually, there are two sides to it. A customer who's been in business and is probably around the $250,000 mark upwards. So that's why I say high performance websites for high performance businesses. So if you're already making $250,000, not just sales, actual profits, right? You working with us becomes easier. So anyone from 250 upwards, but that doesn't mean to say that people who aren't already making 250 don't want to work with us, because they would want to work with us. So then it becomes an aspirational thing to work with us, right? So in that scenario, we still work with those customers because they're trying to become high performance. They're already on the path there. They may not yet already be there fully,
Right.
but they already have the mindset. They already have all the tools. They already have half of the process ready to get to that point. Now it's kind of to make a jump. And then you have the people who already make it, say, $1 million, and they're trying to get to $2 million or whatever. So it's how they can use the online space, website, social media marketing, SEO marketing, position themselves as the authority online, that's where we come in and we help them. And those are sort of customers who we can help give value and benefit.
Okay. So, what would be next after finding that ideal customer as an intake process?
Right. So we have, as my coach Myron would say, he'd go, your messaging and your branding needs to attract the people that you want and repel the people that you don't want, right? So again, when we have our process, we have people who come in, they say, okay, cool. Based of all the stuff we can see from Oye and his team and all that stuff, so social media, YouTube, the website, other stuff that we've done for other customers, showcase, maybe me speak at a seminar, that's all the stuff that creates the perception that, okay, maybe these guys know what they're talking about. Or there is at least some social proof that Oye and his team know what they're talking about and are capable. So then it's a case of then applying to work with us via our intake form. So we kind of know where they're at and where they're trying to get to. And this also helps us to kind of assess, okay, cool. This person might not be someone who might be able to work with us, but that doesn't mean that we're just going to turn them away straight away. It allows at least myself to understand, okay, they're at this point. I think what they really need is a consultation for information on how they can get to the next point, right? Okay. So then what we then do with those sort of customers is we'll have that consultation. It may not be as extensive, but we'll still have that consultation based on the information they're giving us on the intake form. Okay. The other customer who's ready to come with us, we would, again, go through the intake form. They'd let us know where they are and where they're trying to get to. And then when we have that conversation, we then identify the opportunities. So I always want anyone who speaks to us to always know that we've been thinking about their problem for at least the last decade. Mm-hmm. So we can see, okay, this is what you're doing. This is where you're at. Here's where you're trying to get to. So for instance, someone who comes to us and says, right, we have a website, but it's not making us any money, or we're not getting any traffic. So we know, okay, but we're trying to get to, we're currently doing, say, 10 grand, and we're trying to get to, say, 40 grand, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say the average customer value for them is, say, $1,000. So that means we need to do 40 of those people to get to the 40 grand mark, which is what they're looking at, right? Or we could actually create one 5 grand package, one 10 grand package, and maybe one 3 grand package. So now, really, instead of trying to get 40 people at 1 grand, we'll probably need about 10 people to get to that 40 grand. Right. So if you get 10 people doing 3K, you've got 30. If you get 10 people doing your 5K offer, we've got 50. If we do it on your 10 grand offer, you've got 100. So it's understanding these things and then relaying this information to the customer or the potential customer. And then if that is where they're trying to get to and those things work for them, then they come with us and are like, yeah, we want to create this and we want to make this happen, you know. So it's not just, again, just creating the website. It's literally the whole strategy around it, whether you need a website that is looking like this to you need to have a funnel that brings this in to you need to have a lead generation strategy that does this. It's a whole different it's multidisciplined, and that's what we relay to the customers or the potential customers to help them see where they're trying to get to. Because if the customer is only thinking, I have a 1K offer, but I'm trying to get a 40K, I need to sell 40 of these, and then you give them a different perspective of actually, no, you can sell 6 5 grand offers, and that gives you 30, right? And that's less work, but you still hit the goal, provided, and this is the most important thing, you can't just create a 5 grand offer or something and say it's 5 grand or something and say it's 10 grand. The value that you're actually putting in there must be at least 10 times more. Mm-hmm. So if we're saying you're going to create something that's 5 grand, right? The actual value should be 50K. So that when someone actually sees it, they think, oh, this is a steal. I'm only getting this for 5 grand when I know in my head this is at least worth 50 or more. So It's all those things. That's why I said it's multidisciplined. And it's a case of allowing the customer or the potential customer to know we've been thinking about your problem for at least a decade, and we have all the solutions that's going to help you get from one point to the other. And that's why the intake form is so important.
Okay. And so what would be next after that step? After the intake form, it's like, okay, this company we can work with.
Yeah.
What happens next?
So if we then go ahead and they say, yes, we'd like to work with you guys, we'd like to work with your team, what would then happen is we would take the payment and give them the onboarding portal, where basically they onboard onto our systems, and then we then have all their information, which streamlines the whole process for everything that they need and everything that we need in order to work with them. So all the information that we need based on their project. So there's no need for us going back and forth. That, oh, did you send this? Did you send it? It's all there for them to just give us, and then we can then begin their project. And usually takes, I would say, anything from 14 days to 35 days for us to complete a project, depending on if they're able to give us all the information when we need it. So if you give us everything on day one, like all the media that's going to go on the site, all the text, all the images, everything, the videos and all that, the copy, and you have all of that ready, then we should be able to get it all done by day 30, right? If there is back and forth, which in some projects there are, then it's going to take as long as it's going to take. But the thing is, you will see the progress as the customer, and you know it's really up to you to get all the stuff so you can start enjoying the fruits of the labor. So that would be the next step. So first is, yep, they see everything that's associated with us. Okay, let's tap in with them. They go through the process of the intake. Then is the onboarding. And yeah, and that's what happens next, the onboarding.
Okay. And after the onboarding, just the finished product? Or?
Yeah, after the onboarding, it's really the presentation of the project to the customer and saying, hey, we're done. Do you like it? Because we do a lot of work at the foundation, it makes it easier that when you actually get to the finished project, it's usually 100% of what they wanted. And because they kind of see it as the progress is going along the way, so it kind of helps as well. Okay. So yeah, that's really it. And then usually at that point, it's now a case of if there are any other services that we offer that they would want to engage with. Say, for instance, managing of their website, or like I said, actually getting leads, building an audience for them, creating content for them via their social media, all those sort of things. That's when we start to discuss all of that, because you kind of, like I always say to my customers, basically we're trying to create a party, and we're trying to make it the best party possible in your niche, and we're trying to bring everybody back to this party so that you're the host. You've got the swimming pool, you've got the games room, you've got the drinks, you got everything. So we need to make a really dope party for everyone to come back to, and they just want to stay at your party and tell other people to come to your party. So that's the way we go about it, and that's how we try to attract people and keep people. So then if you've got this really dope website, it's not a case of I really need to build an audience to get enough people to come and see this. So that's how it works.
Okay. So you mentioned some of the services after the fact of building the website.
Yeah.
Can we go into those a little more?
Yeah. So primarily it's really the customer acquisition.
Okay.
So say, for instance, you have your site built, right? And the project is set up and everything. The next thing you're going to ask is, okay, how do I get customers? Or where can I get more customers from? So say, for instance, you're already getting customers. At that point, that's where strategy comes in. So for instance, we would say you are, I don't know, say an e-commerce brand, or you're a consultant. I would say, okay, cool. Why don't we have a lead generation funnel that is solely for, I don't know, say a challenge, right? Or for a webinar. Let's say you have a service that is, you help, I don't know, create financial literacy for parents and kids, right? Okay. Let's just say that's your thing, right? So we could say we can have a challenge where everyone pays $97 for the general admission, and then $297 for the VIP, where they get to ask you questions because this is your forte and everything, right? So we could build a challenge funnel, which is solely based around that, from creating the audience to actually the portal, which is the funnel itself, the systems in place which are required, and then how you convert on the end of the funnel, so that, say, you can then offer people your coaching service, where they can now come into your mastermind or your coaching boot camp, where you're actually teaching this financial literacy to them and stuff for their kids, right? Unless you say that that is $4,000 for 6 weeks, let's just say, right? So you can have 100 people come in and pay you, say 50 people pay you $97, and then you have another 50 people pay you $297. So you've made money on that end. To then, after the fact, so they, on the last day of your challenge, you then have an offer to, hey, come join my course, where it's a group coaching situation. Everyone's in there asking questions and all that sort of stuff, and that's $4,000. Now, say only 10 people from that 100 take you up on that, that's $40K on top of what you've already made. So again, it's all these little strategies in between all these services that we know, and then we can apply depending on who the customer is and what their niche is, right? So that, I think, is kind of the benefit of the experience, because having dealt with a bunch of different businesses in different niches, you kind of get a feel of, okay, this could work here, this might not work here, this is amazing to work in this place. So that is it.
Okay. It's interesting you said that. I was literally on my way here listening to a podcast, and they were talking about basically the ClickFunnels having your different pricings, and then don't be afraid to up your pricing sometimes.
Yes.
So it's basically what it was talking about, is upping your pricing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, yes, you want people to pay you, but at the end of the day, you want the testimonials at the end.
Yes.
You want the things that you can promote after the fact. So
Yeah.
people that pay the least amount of money generally don't use the information that you're given, versus the people that are paying $4,000.
Yeah.
They're gonna use that information, and then they'll give you a testimonial and different things like that, and that helps you get more people within your business.
Yeah.
So
like when people pay, they pay attention.
yes,
That's,
exactly.
that's really what it is.
Exactly. When they pay attention.
Yeah.
So what other services other than that do you offer after the fact?
That's it.
That's
We
pretty much
we
it.
make you look good online, and we make sure you get customers online. That's really it. Building also your brand suite, but that is kind of as part of creating, again, going back to creating a dope party. As part of creating a dope party with all the systems in place, the branding needs to be on point, even the pricing, because just like you said, your pricing is actually part of your brand. Say, for instance, someone said to you, oh, you could buy this Rolex, but it's $50. You'd probably think, oh, it must be a fake. They say, no, it's real. It's authentic. It's da-da-da. You probably wouldn't. You say, there's something wrong here, because it doesn't match. Rolex you have up here, but they're giving you for $50. So that's why I say your pricing is actually part of your brand. If we're positioning our customers as Rolexes, then their prices need to match that. At the same time, so does their branding. So we do the making you look good, having all the right systems, creating the right brand, make sure you get the customers. That's our forte. That's what we focus on, right? So that's what we've mastered, and that's what we know works for our customers. And yes, I think the newest addition to our actual services is also helping you create content, but we don't need to deviate from that sphere. We own that sphere, and we do it really well. So yeah.
Okay. So I literally just had a question for you. So how do you retain customers, or is it always new customers coming within your business?
So with the lead generation and lead acquisition or customer acquisition service, it's a subscription model, because you're paying for X amount of leads every month for you to then convert those leads into customers. Now, if let's just say you're paying $5,000 every month for customer acquisition, but one customer is worth $10,000 based off you increasing the value of the customer, then really all you need is one customer from us. You don't even need 10 or 20. You only need one, and you've made profit and covered the cost.
Right. Okay.
So the lead generation aspect is pretty much a subscription model. So is also management of your website. That is also a subscription model.
Okay.
So yeah, we have our value ladder is on both ends. So you can either have a value ladder that is ascending or a value ladder that's descending. So the ascending value ladder is you start here, which is an ebook. Then you come here, which is maybe a course. Then you come here, which is a done for you service. Then you come here, which is a mastermind or something else and something else, right? So we have our value ladder is, I think it's more descending. So you usually come from the done for you service, and either you go down or you go up from there. So yeah, our retention is primarily based off of that. If you want us to do those services as well for you, then we would do them. But one thing which is really important, which I was actually speaking to Patrice yesterday, he's in Morning Meetup as well, and it's ownership of your website, right? So I'm really big on ownership for any entrepreneur or business owner. And owning your domain name, owning your website, those are two really important things for any business, because just because you are working with a web designer, you trust them, right? And that is true, that is good. However, if things don't go the way you would like them to go, you don't want to be in a situation where both parties are at a standstill or a standoff, and then because you don't own your domain name and you don't own your website, you can't then progress with your business because of that situation, right?
Okay.
So ownership of your actual assets is really key, and it's something which I always preach to anyone who works with us, right? Own your domain name, own your website. We always give you ownership of your website, which is you being the main admin or one of the admins, right?
Okay.
And if for whatever reason you're like, do you know what, it hasn't happened, but say for whatever reason you're like, do you know what, I found another more Rolex team to work with. So you guys, your Rolex is okay, but these guys are more Rolex. Cool, no problem. There you go. You own everything,
Right.
and you can take it off with you. And that just avoids a lot of horror stories where you have business owners who've put their blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then in the space of 24 hours, an argument, and then it's like, well, I'm not giving it back to you until X, Y, Z. So. Yeah.
So when you say ownership, you mean like, say, me purchasing my own domain name versus me coming to you say, hey, can you buy my domain name
Yes.
for me type thing?
Yes.
Okay.
But even if you did come to us and say, hey, can we buy it for you? Yeah, no problem. But then the ownership transfer needs to be done back so you actually own it, right?
Okay.
Or even could be seen as easier is when we go to buy it, if, say, we're in person, you can then just put in your card details and buy it right there and then, right? Or, like I said, we could buy it and then transfer the ownership back to you.
Okay.
So,
So for a new entrepreneur
yes.
that is looking to start an online business or start a business, how do you recommend they go about securing domain names?
So securing your domain name is pretty simple. It really is just a case of going to like one of the reputable domain registrars. So you've got Namecheap, you've got Bluehost. You can go to any one of them, type in the domain that you want to see if it's available. And I always advocate that you get the .com just because that is what most people are more familiar with, right? With all the other ones, .net, .org, yes, they are good. But .org has been associated with like educational institutions for such a long time that most people think you might be a school or academia or something like that. So, but with .com, it usually encompasses everything. So I always say just get a .com. And then the other thing I always say is also this, because some people might want to just put, consultant.com. Those single phrase words, most of them are gone, right?
Right.
Instead, you can put like expertconsultants.com. Let's just say your company was called, I don't know, architects, security architects, right? And you put that in, and that's actually taken. You could put security architects consultants.com, right? And you could
Okay.
just get that instead, you know. And then at the same time, I know a lot of people, but I'm speaking specifically to new entrepreneurs. There is also a lot of, oh, you should get your .com, your .net, your .org, and all that. That is true, but that is at a different timeline. When you're just starting off, most people don't know who you are,
Yeah.
right? So unless if you've got like someone who you know, a person who's got beef with you, and they know if you start your website, they're gonna want to take it as well.
Yeah.
If that situation is absent, you don't need to get .com, .net, and all those things because yes, they are expenses and yes, they are assets. But at the moment when you're just starting off, they're a liability, not yet an asset. They become an asset when you start getting success, right? When you start blowing up, once you start growing and progressing with your business. Now at that point, that's when, and you will know the first time you make 100K, you will know, okay, yeah, we're kind of successful now. Maybe we should get our .net, .org, and all these other things. At that point, yeah, it makes sense, you know.
Right.
But when you're just starting off, I don't necessarily think you need to do all of that stuff. I know a lawyer would say something totally different, and that is my background. But from my experience, it's unlikely anyone's going to come for your stuff because you're not anyone yet. And that is not meant in a detrimental way. It's just the facts.
Right.
You're not yet someone that you have enough of an asset in terms of your brand that someone's going to try and want to steal it, right? And just like I said, if the .net is not available, you can add something on the end and get that instead. So, yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think about sites like GoDaddy? What's the other one? Squarespace. Those ones, are those ones okay to buy your domain from as well? So I know you didn't say them. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so Squarespace, I don't have any issue with. GoDaddy is the one I am 50-50 on just because there was a lot of rumors, especially in the past, where it felt like, and I'm speaking from a lot of like, what would I call them? Web forums where people were speaking are like, oh, the service with GoDaddy is not particularly the best, blah, 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 blah. They're not enjoying the service, blah, blah, blah. I think they have changed now. I don't necessarily use them. I do have customers who have them and they have the domain name and it's cool, but usually they come with us for hosting and building the site and everything else. So having the domain name with them, I think is fine. I generally recommend Bluehost. I think Bluehost is really, really dope for having your domain name. Like I literally can't fault them. So, and they're the ones that we've always used for like years and years and years. But I'm sure Squarespace as well. I mean, if you're just getting the domain name, it shouldn't be an issue. I think where the issues tend to come in is when you want to get your hosting, when you want to get all the features that come with that. So just to explain it for anyone who's watching and is trying to understand, imagine a building, imagine the Coca-Cola building, right? The sign at the top of the building, that is your domain name. The land that the building is on, that is your hosting. And then the building itself that has the windows, the doors, and all that, that's your website, right? So if you just get that sign at the top with one place, you can do the other two things somewhere else, right? So, like I said, for me, I would recommend Bluehost. Squarespace and all these other places, I would assume, yeah, you're literally just getting the sign at the top, so it shouldn't be an issue. I think it's those other two things that's where you can either get burnt or you may get serviced, but that may not be what you expected, right, with those other things. But like I said, I recommend Bluehost for anyone. And I'm sure Squarespace and the others, they will also be good.
Okay. All right. Just curious because I've never heard of Bluehost. So,
Oh, really? Right,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Do you think that's more of a Europe thing than a US thing, or?
It might be actually, but they are. I'm sure Bluehost is an American company actually, but it might just be that culture wise, GoDaddy is more.
Yeah, because I feel like they probably promote like Shopify more
Yeah.
on that side than.
Yeah. I mean, Shopify is promoted here as well, but I know like when Shopify first came out, it was a big US thing as opposed to over here, and then it trickled down over here into Europe and England. So yeah.
Okay. So, what other advice do you have for new entrepreneurs that are starting their business and trying to get online?
You're starting your business, trying to get online. The most important thing I would say is don't think that just having a website is going to make you money, right? Don't think that just because you set up a site, you're going to get traffic and you're going to blow up tomorrow and you're going to ball out and go buy a Rolls Royce. It doesn't happen like that.
Not at all.
It doesn't happen like that. So, what I actually say is this: if you're actually just starting out, I don't necessarily think you should have a website, right? And I say this because I think you should actually check that you have an audience for your offer. So if you're doing a service or you're doing a product, check first, okay, are there people who are interested in my service? Or are there people who are interested in my product, right? And you do that through market research or through what we call an MVP, a minimal viable product or minimal viable proposition. And that can be you literally just creating a landing page and you're saying, for example, we're about to start our clothing company, which is about cats, let's just say, right? And you drive traffic to that landing page and you say, hey, if you're interested to learn when we drop our products, our VIP entries, prize draws, our VIP codes, and all these other things, right? Now, if you're driving traffic to that page, you haven't built a site yet, you haven't done everything else, you've just built a landing page, which is literally to collect information. And you get people actually giving you the information because they're interested in that value proposition. That gives you, first of all, an audience of people who actually may purchase what you actually have to offer, right? Before you've even set anything up, you already have an audience, right? It's like basically before you've done the event, you already have ticket buyers. That's literally what it is. Now, say you build up 1,000 people on that list from just running traffic, which could in a month maybe cost you that whole thing altogether could cost you $200 or £200, right? That is a much more stronger foundation than you first building the site and then hoping that you can then drive traffic and that traffic is going to convert, right? Doing it this way kind of lets you know we can sell 100 tickets before we've actually done the event, right? So my advice to anyone who is a new entrepreneur that doesn't yet actually understand business just yet, market research, marketing, because marketing is basically creating your own hype. If you don't know how to create your own hype, it's going to be hard for you to move your products and your services, especially within your first year. Creating your content, right? These are all the skills which are, and there's so many, there are multiple skills required. And one of my friends, Safari, he always goes, you never learn skills on their own. You need to learn them as a group, right? And it's so true because just because you know how to build a site doesn't mean you know how to get traffic or business or grow your business. So all these other things need to also be in alignment with what you're trying to do. So I would say have all these things in place. You can learn about them from YouTube, other successful entrepreneurs because success leaves clues. But probably the easiest way is to get a mentor or a coach who's actually already done it and you can vet that they've done it. So it's not one of these, oh, I made 60 grand in 5 minutes, guys, or with my Shopify website, we can make you a millionaire by next week. Like, those guys are not the guys I would recommend you to follow. Follow someone who you can vet and they have longevity in the game and social proof that they've done it and they've helped others, right? Learn from them. I would say do mentorship from a distance. If their free stuff on YouTube and their Instagram and their TikTok has actually moved the needle for you from point A to point B, then it's likely if you keep moving that needle, because you don't need to go from point A to the end all at the same time. You can move from A slowly to B, slowly to C. Now, if you see that that progress is happening, then it might be a good idea to actually invest in them because through their free stuff, you've moved the needle. And then you can see you're vetting them. You've got other people giving you good testimonials about them. Your discernment is telling you, yeah, these guys seem like they might be right. That whole process is not a one-day thing. But when you get it right, that person can condense all the mistakes that you were going to make, all the problems you're going to face. They can condense that into, instead of it being a decade, it could be just days, and you know what to avoid, what mistakes to make, the right moves to play, the right plays to make, and you're good.
Okay. So you spoke a little bit about marketing. Would you say you have some experience with marketing?
You have to have some experience in
Okay.
marketing,
So,
100%.
so what would be some advice that you'll give to our listeners on marketing?
Create an audience first. That is the most important part of everything, right? You get a lot of people who they see they see the points of income. So create an ebook, create a course, create a webinar, create a masterclass, create a mastermind. Those are all the points of income, right? For the income to actually come in, someone has to pay for it. The value of exchange has to happen. If you don't have an audience for that yet, it, you it's and you don't know how to build that audience, it's gonna take you a longer time to actually hit those points of income before you can actually get any income coming in. Right. And I say that because a lot of people might think, oh, I just need to create a $20 ebook and we can make a milli from there. You could make a mill if you have 100,000 people as an audience who say, yeah, we want that book, and you only need to convert maybe half of that. You could make a mill in that scenario. But if you don't have that audience, then it's going to be way harder for you. So creating an audience is probably what I would say is the most important thing for any business, product or service. Right. I would always create an audience first, because when you have someone's name, phone number, and email, now it's a case of you converting that audience with the service or the offer that you have. And if you think about it, like most of, especially the fast fashion companies, that's what they do, like Fashion Nova. Yeah. Fashion Nova would get you on their email, and then they send you an email every day. Hey, 50% off today, 20% off in an hour, 30% off here. Yeah. We have, what's it called? We've got Boohoo here in England, and they do this similar thing. Okay. They get you on the mailing list, and then boom, 50% off now within an hour. Get it before it's gone. Payday weekend, we'll give you 30% off everything. Get it within 2 hours. Like, they've built the audience, and now they're just converting who's ready to convert with that particular offer.
Okay. So how would you say to go about building that audience? I feel like that's different for everyone.
Yeah, it's basically you need to think, it's a thinking game, right? You need to think, who is my ideal customer over here, right? And then you need to reverse engineer backwards. That person is over here, and I need to get them here. And how I'm going to get them here is through lead generation, right? Mm-hmm. So what is it this person over here wants that I can create with my lead magnet that's going to attract them to come in here, give me their name, phone number, and email? For instance, we're trying to attract high-performance customers. So we're thinking they're over here. So what is it that they need to get to that point? So we create something which is the 6 biggest mistakes you can make online and how to avoid them, or the 6 biggest mistakes you can make online that's causing you to lose 6 figures, right? And how to avoid them. Check out point 3. That one's crazy. Now, if you've never heard of me, but you're trying to get to 6 figures, right? And you're trying not to lose 6 figures, and you want to know what point 3 is, you're going to be like, oh, let me enter my name, phone number, and email just to see what these things are. Okay. So now we know you're trying to make 6 figures, or you're already at 6 figures, trying not to lose 6 figures, right? You're interested in creating a website. So you are technically, based on that messaging, our ideal customer, right? So now if we then run that play to you, which could be an ad, to bring you back to that page for you to enter your name, phone number, and email. That's how we're building a list of people who actually are looking to make a website and not lose 6 figures or make 6 figures, right? If we change it go from 6 figures to 7 figures, then we know you're already making 6 figures, you're trying to get to 7, right? So if that's the customer we're trying to get to over here, that's what we create in the messaging down here to attract them, right? But then it all plays in with everything else. So if the perception is right, so yeah, we can see content, because the first time you hear of someone, most people would then go and Google that person, right? So when you go Google them, you check them out on YouTube, check out their social media, their IG, their TikTok. That whole picture is what's most likely gonna convince you that, okay, yeah, let me give this person my name, phone number, and email. Because essentially we're a cold approach when you just see something you've never heard of us, and you just see that. But, and again, this is another thing I learned from Myron, lead people away from pain before you promise them pleasure, right? So if we're saying how not to lose how to go from 6 to 7 figures without losing 6 figures, we're leading you away from pain. We're telling you what to avoid, right? Anyone who has a problem is likely to take, say for instance, you've been hit on the road and someone just comes over, hey, give me your phone, let me call an ambulance. You give them your phone. But if I just come over to you and I say, hey, I've got $100, you want it? You'll be like, what's wrong with $100? Like, am I going to get robbed? Am I going to faint if I touch it? Like, nah, no, thank you. I'm good.
Right.
Right. But if I'm taking away from pain and then giving you $100 afterwards, like, I'll call the taxi for you. I'll call the ambulance for you. Okay, cool. Ambulance coming. Do you know what? If you need to buy something, here's $100 so you can buy it. Oh, thank you so much. You're such an angel. It's a whole different perception, but it's still the same two things, right? So leading people away from pain is very crucial when you're trying to build an audience of people that don't know you yet, because it works on people who do know you and people who don't know you yet, right? So that is what I'd say. Build an audience based off of that.
Okay. It's a lot of information to take in. I feel like you're over there talking to me, trying to build an audience here. But yeah, that's definitely a lot of information that you just gave. Is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you wish to speak about?
I think one thing which is really important, and I'd say this on both someone who's just starting in business and someone who, actually, the person who's in business probably already knows this, but being teachable and having the right mindset are really key for whatever it is you're trying to do, because what you put into your mind is really what's going to determine the output, right? What you put in your mind and your body will always determine the output. If you put in nonsense, you would get nonsense output. If you put in good stuff, you get good output. So the stuff you listen to via social media, the stuff you listen to via the news, the stuff you listen to just online, the people you listen to, all these things shape your mindset. The more good you put in, the better the output is likely to be. So I would say for anyone who is starting as an entrepreneur, have what we call a high teachability index, where you're always open to change, you're always willing to learn how to get better at something you're already doing, because that is actually the only way you stay ahead of the game, by perfecting your craft, by trying to get better every day, right? If it's only 2% better, you're 2% better than you were yesterday and 2% better than your next competition, if you have competition, right? So mindset is something which I would say is super important. Having the right mindset, being teachable, those two things. And I would also say having the right mentor and coach, because they've already made all the mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's easier for them to just tell you what not to do, right? Even if it's just the stuff not to do, that in itself is gold advice. So I would say those three things are very key to your output and the chances of you getting success in whatever business you're looking to do. And other thing is the value you're able to offer and the problems you're able to solve in your potential customer will always determine the amount that you can make in any market. The more value you're able to bring, and the more that is valuable to the market, the more you're able to attract people who actually want you for your services and your talents, whatever that is, right? So, and I probably say the last and most important thing is every single person on earth, in my belief, has genius level talent, right? Unfortunately, the world we live in would probably make you believe you don't, or that only some people are special and some people aren't. But the truth of the matter is this: in my opinion, everyone has genius level talent. And it's up to you as a person to identify what that is, identify it through yourself, through help of friends, the right types of friends in the right environment, to then help that blossom into something that you can either create a business around or use it to serve somebody else or serve a whole market. So, yeah, I think those are the few things I would say.
All right. Any questions for me?
I guess my question would have been, what made you want to interview me?
Because you talk a lot on the morning meetup. That's one. You definitely talk a lot on the morning meetup. And you sound, it almost seems like you have more to say, but it's never enough time on that platform.
Yeah.
And you're doing something great out here. And I feel like you should be recognized for that.
Appreciate
as
it.
well.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go into the last questions that I ask everyone.
Okay.
So the first one is, what advice would you give to 18-year-old you about what you're doing now?
18-year-old version of me.
Yeah.
Oh, invest in yourself. Okay. Definitely, like, invest in yourself early. Get a mentor or a coach early, and definitely do mentorship from a distance. And what I mean by that, again, is when I say, not necessarily just say, hey, I want this person, go drop however much it is on them. No, learn from them from a distance and then invest in it. Like, actually, with Dave, I was following Dave for, actually, I came across Dave first time when he used to do this thing called Dorito Dave, right? And it was these skits or sketches where he's white background, he's in a chair, he's eating Doritos, and he's just saying something, either giving a rant or he's dropping some gems, right? And I didn't tap in with him then, but I tapped in with him in 2021. So I'd done a good full year of mentorship from a distance, just learning the stuff he's saying and seeing if it vibes with what I'm aligned with, and it did. And then I jumped into the morning meetup, and now through that, met Bryn, met Donnie, met a bunch of dope people, like spoke with Myron, hosted Myron. Myron's my coach now. Like, all these things came from that, right? Even this came from that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would definitely say mentorship from a distance is something you should tap into. To my 18-year-old self, invest in yourself is one thing that will always bring dividends, always be an asset. And yeah.
Okay, what advice would you give to our listeners on entrepreneurship?
Your listeners on entrepreneurship, pretty much everything I've already said, but is there anything else I would say?
If you had to bring it down to one thing, what would it be?
Trust yourself. Okay. Invest in yourself and trust yourself. You definitely have that genius level talent. You just, once you tap in with that, you will be unstoppable. Keep harnessing that, keep growing with it, keep leveling up, focus on your purpose. And I don't say these things as cliches or as sound bites, but the truth of the matter is this: everyone does have a genius level talent. It's up to you to identify that. And one of the best ways of identifying it is having the right environment around you and putting the right stuff into your mind and body. Once you do those things, it's very likely you will start to, or your gifts will start to resonate with yourself and other people. Okay. So yeah, trust thyself.
All right. So what's next for you in your business?
Right now is growing the actual show, which, interestingly enough, is called the Trust Thyself Show. Okay. So it's my show where we speak to people who go from being the underdogs to the heroes in their own stories. So people who've gone through their journeys and whatever, whether they're doing it in business, their personal life, like whatever it is, they come on the show and we discuss and talk about. It's just basically having a conversation. So that is the next thing with us. The other thing is also our challenge, but interestingly enough, we're having a challenge with Facebook because some stuff happened with one of our accounts, and Facebook is meant to have sorted it, but they still haven't, and so we're still doing the back and forth with them. So that is kind of something which we're trying to overcome. It's an obstacle to overcome. So once we overcome that, that will help with the distribution of everything else we're trying to do. So yeah, building the Trust Thyself show and getting the challenge pop in. Those I'd say in the immediate future, those are the two next big
Okay.
things.
So when did you start the Thyself show?
Oof, Trust Thyself started. It started without a name at first, actually,
Okay.
and I didn't even know what to call it. I think the actual name came in like maybe episode 4 or 5, but I started it in originally 2019,
Okay.
right? So I did like 2, 3 episodes in 2019, and then everything happened in 2020. Everybody was locked in. Did a couple more episodes doing that as well, actually.
Okay.
But I would say officially, it was launched, I think, 6 or 7 months ago.
Okay.
And as at today, I think we are 23 episodes in.
Okay. Nice.
So, yeah, so essentially we've done a full season because we've done
Nice.
23 episodes. So, yeah, it's now just being consistent, dropping more episodes. Got a great team behind that does that, actually. That's another thing, resilience. If another thing I'll add, you got to be resilient and resourceful because starting a show is not something that's easy. It's easy to start, but getting it right to the point that you want it to be will take time. So progress over perfection. Always just start, and it will perfect itself as it gets going. Because where it started and where it's at now, you can see the clear difference between them. I even speak about it in the show as kind of like encouragement to anyone who's like, look, if you want to get something like this started, it wasn't perfect even with me when we were doing it. So
Right.
don't expect it to be perfect with you, but it will get better. If you're watching where we're at now and you're watching from where we started, you'll see it got better, you know. So yeah, that is it started officially started in 2019, but launched on YouTube around 6 or 7 months ago. We're currently on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, and in a month or two, I think we will be on Apple.
Okay.
So then we'll be on all the major platforms. And oh yeah, we're also on Google. I can't remember the Google one, Google Play, I think. But yeah,
Okay.
we're all.
So it's literally like a proper show.
Yeah, it's a proper podcast. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll have to look for it. Actually, this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, I haven't actually been promoting it as hard yet, but
Okay.
yeah, I wanted to hit 20 episodes first before like dropping stuff about it, just so that we've got a body of work, you know, because that's the other thing you need to be mindful of. Don't expect, oh, I dropped an episode, only 6 people watched it, and then now you're discouraged. No, keep dropping, keep being consistent,
Yeah.
and then eventually it will blow up. Like my favorite artist is Jay-Z. I got was it Hard Knock Life Volume 2, and then I was like, yo, this guy's so dope. And then I went to go listen to Reasonable Doubt, Hawaiian Sophie, all the stuff he did in '94, Dead Presidents. Then got to Volume 1, then came back to Volume 2, now Volume 3, all the way to 444. So have a body of work, but don't expect that's gonna blow up then. It might be your reasonable doubt could blow up, or it might be your volume 3.
Right.
And then everyone would then go back to your very first one to come back to your volume
Yeah.
3. So yeah.
Okay. The next question is, what would you say to your future self 5 years from now?
What I said to my future self. Damn, play, we did it.
Okay.
Interesting enough, I use my future self as kind of like my big brother. That's who I rely on. So I'm the eldest, but like the way I look at it is I trust my future self to figure it out if I don't know what to do right now. So say something comes across right and I'm like, okay, this situation is here. It's, as Brent would say, the words are always important with how you address things. So it's not a problem, it's an obstacle or an opportunity for growth. Cool. I don't know how to deal with this right now, but I trust my future self to be able to figure it out, right? So now if this is the reverse, where what would I say to my future self? That's why I said, damn, dude, we did it.
Right.
So that's the context behind that. I'm actually not sure what I'd say to my future self, aside from, did we make a Billy yet, or or not? No, it would be along the lines of, let's keep getting better, keep focusing on what we're trying to do, and let's keep getting better. At that point, I think there'll be a bigger goal to hit, and then it would be a case of how we're going to hit that goal. What are the activities to get to that goal? If my future self was here with me right now and said, that would be what I would say. I'd say, what are the activities we need to do now to get to you quicker? That would probably be what I would say. So, yeah.
All right. And lastly, where do you see yourself in your business in 5 years' time?
In 5 years' time, I think, or I know, I want to have a biz that has an education arm to it, and I think that is where the challenge, or I know that is where the challenge and the mastermind are going to come from.
Okay.
But I want to have it on two sides. One where we can have the high performance businesses and everyone on that level, but also on the other side, the businesses or the people who may be in circumstances that aren't as easy. They have a lot of opportunities for growth. And they're trying to figure stuff out and may not necessarily be high performance, but they can get enough information to push them to high performance, right? Or push them on the journey to get out of those situations, overcome those obstacles, and then come to the high performance side, right? So that I think is kind of where I see us getting to, and what I intend for us to be able to do. And even just at the point where it's such an asset that my, I guess, offsprings and kids would have the opportunity to jump in, right? Or if they decide, oh, we want to try our own thing, cool. But this can help you support in whatever it is your own thing is going to be, right? So, yeah, that is the goal.
All right.
Or one of the goals.
Okay. And what about for you personally?
For me personally, my personal thing was time freedom and financial freedom. Everybody says financial freedom, but time freedom is something which I think is key for everyone, because in my opinion, the way the world is set up, it is set up, especially the Western world, is set up for you to work, pay bills, and then when you're done paying bills and you can't work anymore, all right, cool, step aside. Next, like, that's the way I see it. And funny enough, I would have been in that exact same scenario if not, like I said, I was a recession baby.
Right.
Even though I do kind of know that at some point I'd have probably stepped out and done something on my own, just because I've always had that in me, even from my first business when I was a kid, when I was 15, 14. I know that at some point I'd have probably stepped out. But that ability to control your own time and to help people on whatever level it might be, if they need it, and just say, oh yeah, it's cool, it's easy, no problem.
Right.
Like, that for me is always the goal, right? And to always make people believe in themselves that they can do way better than what they thought they could, or do anything than they thought they could do, right? So yeah, those I would say are amongst the things of my personal goals. Family's okay. Everyone who's important to me is okay. If there's anything they need, you can always help them, and it's not a strain. It's easy, and then being able to like help other people, you know.
Okay.
So.
All right. Thank you, Oye, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Up here in Manchester.
No problem at all.
Anything else that you want to say before we close out?
I think we said everything.
Okay.
I think we said everything. Shout out to you for coming through all the way. I could even say across the pond, across the ocean. You came through, and for picking me to be on this interview. And she's doing a phenomenal job, guys. So make sure you tap in.
All right. Thank you very much again. And this is another episode of the Black Accents Club podcast. My name is Sakudini, and I'm the host, and I'm on a journey from unknown to unforgettable. And again, thank you so much, Oye,
For having me.
for being on the podcast.